In an era where survival horror often translates to hiding in a locker from an invisible pursuer, Retrofiction Games has decided to look backward to move the genre forward. Dead of Darkness is a meticulously crafted love letter to the era of Resident Evil and Silent Hill, specifically filtered through a 2D top-down lens that feels like a lost masterpiece from the 16-bit era. But don't let the pixel art fool you. Underneath its charming aesthetic lies a grim, uncompromising investigation into grief and cosmic horror that isn't afraid to let you run out of bullets or nerves. You play as Miles Wyndham, a private investigator in 1985 England. Miles is the quintessential noir protagonist, haunted by the death of his daughter and barely holding it together. He is lured to the isolated Velvet Island under the guise of an investigation, only to find a community that isn't just secretive, they are downright hostile. The narrative is where Dead of Darkness punches far above its weight class. While many indie horror titles rely on vague environmental storytelling, this game delivers a 10 or so hour campaign with a sprawling cast of fully voiced characters. The voice acting is a highlight, landing that perfect PS1 era campiness without sacrificing the emotional weight of Miles' personal trauma. As the island descends into a zombie-like outbreak fueled by Lovecraftian influences, the plot evolves from a simple missing persons case into a multi-layered mystery that kept me hooked until the credits rolled. While the skeleton of the game is pure Resident Evil, complete with color-coded keys, limited inventory slots, and magic storage chests, Retrofiction introduces a brilliant clue system that differentiates it from being just a clone. As a detective, you don't just find items. You collect clues from documents and observations, and these aren't just lore fluff items. You must open your menu to ponder or combine clues to solve puzzles. For example, knowing a key is in a fireplace isn't enough. You must use the specific clue about the fireplace to interact with it. It forces you to think like an investigator, though it can occasionally feel cumbersome to navigate through menus in the middle of a tense exploration. The combat is clunky in a way purists will adore. You cannot move and shoot at the same time. Positioning is everything, and aiming is restricted to specific axes, making every encounter with the game's grotesque enemies a high-stake dance. The sanding mechanic is a welcome, if slightly underutilized addition. Much like Eternal Darkness, your mental state drains as you take hits or witness horrors. Low sanity triggers hallucinations that blur the line between the game world and the UI. While I found myself drowning in sanity pills by the late game, the initial tension of the screen warping while you're low on ammo creates a genuine sense of panic that modern horror often misses. The game transitions from a sprawling Victorian mansion to the Graham Memorial Mental Hospital, with each area feeling distinct and dripping with atmosphere. Despite the retro feel, the map system is a godsend. It uses a red-green system to show if you've cleared a room of items, respecting the player's time in a game otherwise defined by backtracking. The contrast between the 2D sprites and the high-definition body horror character portraits creates a jarring, effective visual style. Some issues include the inventory being perhaps a little too tight. Being unable to discard items on the fly means if you find a crucial key, but your pockets are full, you're forced to backtrack across half the map just to reach a storage chest. The final act also introduces some frustrating insta-kill traps and a few bullet sponge bosses that feel slightly at odds with the methodical pace of the first half of the game. Dead of Darkness is a sincere, passionate project that understands why the survival horror of the 90s worked. Doesn't rely on cheap jump scares, it relies on the dread of having 3 bullets left and 4 rooms to clear before the next save point. It isn't a game that reinvents the wheel, but it polishes that wheel to a mirror finish. If you have any nostalgia for an era seemingly left behind, or crave a horror game that treats your intelligence with respect, Retrofiction Games has delivered something special. It is a grim, stylish, and deeply engaging nightmare that is well worth the trip to Velvet Island. Dead of Darkness earns an 8 out of 10.